ready for the Blackout Part 2?
Come to this blackout ready to have fun.
In July 16th in Atlanta, Georgia.
It's almost time for the blackout. Hey, is you ready for the blackout? Hey.
What's going on YouTube?
Jamar,
What's going on YouTube?
Washington.
This is boy, Marty 4 here once again.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is your boy Marty 4 here once again, reviewing the first part of the Real Housewives of Potomac season 1. Let me tell you, I didn't get a chance to do the finale of last week, but that's neither here nor there because everything will be covered in these reunion recaps. I did not know what to expect from this reunion just because this was a brand new show. You know, it's their first season, it's their first reunion. The show had these are the type of characters, I guess, on these shows that we kind of love to hate. So it wasn't necessarily a bad season because, you know, people's first season are just kind of them trying to feel each other out. So I didn't know what to expect from the season, and I didn't know what I was about to say. I was kind of like, okay, is this reunion going to be kind of on the dry side? Because, excuse me, the Housewife reunion was a little underwhelming. But so I was like, okay, well, I don't really know what this one's going to be. Let me tell y'all, just in this one part, this first part alone was far more interesting than all 3 parts of Atlanta Housewives. If y'all have not seen... if y'all didn't even watch the Potomac season, just watch this reunion. There was so much shade thrown at this bitch, and I was cackling the whole time. No lie. So, we're gonna go ahead and get into the deep. Let me tell you something. He was definitely asleep just now. And y'all probably heard him pitter and patter his ass over there just when I turned this camera on to start fucking with that damn squeaky toy. He not gonna worry me today. Just ignore that because I don't feel like getting up. So as we, you know, ignite the reunion, we talk about, you know, how everybody's doing and how everybody looks. Everybody looks, you know, primarily done up. Whatever. And so we point to Katie, and we, you know, if y'all remember on the finale, we saw that Katie had finally got engaged. Well, Andy noticed upon that ring that there was no ring. There was no engagement ring. There was like a shit. What's the word for it? It's not decorative. Fuck, the word is just escaping my mind right now. But it wasn't a engagement ring. She just had like some little pearl thing on her finger, and we was like, what's the, you know? And she was like, well, you know, I returned my ring, what she said, like yesterday, like the day before the reunion, and it was just kind of vague as to why, but you know, he asked the other girls to kind of give it a take on it. She was like, well, I believe that she was just, you know, or it was Charisse. She was like, you know, with her having children, she felt the need to have like the whole package of being married and this, that, and the fourth. So I feel like she probably rushed things, which I would definitely agree that she did. Because that was just like, girl, you was pushing hard, like relentlessly all that man to marry your ass. But I mean, he finally did. We don't know what happened as far as the disengagement, but yeah. So they talk about things that were said about them on social media when they first, you know, had their first season or whatever. They talk about things related to Karen and how Karen said that people talked about her mole and basically her just physical appearance and all that stuff. And Katie said something along the lines of, oh, she has this whole very imaginative way about herself because Katie was like, you know, I love me some Karen. I'm this, I'm that. And I guess Katie was trying to be shady like, oh, well, girl, she has a very vivid imagination about who she is. And Karen was like, oh, no, bitch, what you won't do because you don't know what I went through and what is going on to my life, bitch. Stay in your lane, ho. Anyways, Andy, back to what I was saying. I was like, okay. All right, let me tell you, it was Karen and Katie, mostly Katie, that was throwing the jabs at this particular reunion, and I was here for it because the shit was funny. Let me see. Let me look back at my notes. Oh, this is where Karen was like, because of course, when Katie started running at the mouth, it's like, well, bitch, don't give too much, because when they flash back when Katie was trying to throw all that shade at Karen's event, because remember, Katie asked Karen to do her little fundraising charity whatnot deal that she was trying to put together to raise like $100,000. Karen was like, well, I can't really do that because I have my own obligations with this other gala, this, that, and the fourth. Now, to be fair, at the time that she said no, the event that she was planning in her head was about to be big, lavish, have interpretive dancers, a band, a celloist, a violist, and all that other shit. But when it came down to it, her husband was like, no, I don't really want this to be that big of an event, blah, blah, blah. So she scaled it down. Katie came in looking at the fact that her whole thing was in a living room and was like, well, girl, this is what you were planning? This is what you said no to me for? And so she was trying to make that jab, but then Giselle and Karen was like, oh, well, you know what, girl? We had a great time at your non-event that you didn't plan. And Giselle and Robyn was like, yeah, Jeanette, we got fired from an event that didn't even happen. So I thought that was really funny. So Ashley, when still referring to Karen, Ashley says that she feels like Karen baits her husband. And how she has this thing about everybody wants Ray. Don't nobody want Ray. I'm being the black Bill Gates. Don't nobody want him. Sorry, girl. He looks like he kind of tolerates her sometimes. He kind of has an emotion like, this woman kind of gets on my nerves, but I've been with her for so long that I guess I love her. Like, that's the kind of faces and stuff that he be giving. And so she talks about, oh, well, you were baiting your husband like in that last scene when they're talking about having an empty nest, and she gonna you don't know what to do, and we can do a repeat of what we had this morning. And then he followed her into the house, and I guess Ashley was trying to make it seem like she was trying to seduce. I don't know what point she was trying to drive at, but here goes Karen Ash. She was like, well, bitch, let me see if your husband will follow you into the house in 20 years if he's still alive. I was like, nah, bitch, you ain't need to go there. You ain't need to go there, because her husband's already, 55? In 20 years, it's going to be 75. Shit, he may not be able to walk up the stairs at that point, depending on how his health is looking like. He may have to have a cane or a wheelchair ramp at that time. But you know what, Karen, you came back with the good one with that one. So they talk about a topic that I guess a lot of other people on social media were referring to, but nothing that I don't know if I've ever mentioned it or not, but Karen and Giselle's kitchen as a viewpoint. I guess they said that when they would show their kitchens, it wasn't necessarily reminiscent of the level of wealth and tax bracket that these women are supposed to be in. It looked relatively cheap. And, Karen made a good point. She was like, look, when you have a mortgage of $10,000 a month, you tell me how much you're going to invest in your kitchen. And I was like, you know what, bitch, that's a good point. Because let me tell y'all a real quick side note. I had, when it came to my living situation, y'all know I moved back in September. My other apartment was smaller and more expensive because I guess we had more amenities and more up-to-date appliances. Whereas now I have lower end appliances that still work the same and not as much amenities, but I have a lot more living space for a cheaper price. So sometimes you just have to kind of scale on what's more important. And I'll take the living space than just the upscale considered appliance than if I get a lower end one that does the same shit. So I understood where Karen was coming from with that one. But let me tell y'all this thick shade that Katie threw. And I'm going to include this clip right here.
My house is a home with my girls. So, I don't...
You're also renting, so...
Oh! That stare, bitch! Bitch! When I heard her say that, I had to rewind multiple times. I was dying. She was trying to ask her about Giselle's kitchen. She was like, that's my, it's my home for my 3 girls and whatnot. And Katie goes say, but you're renting. And did y'all see the daggers that Giselle stared at her like, bitch, don't you try it on this couch. That was a good one. And you know how Giselle's whole, what is it called? A tagline when she comes up on the screen is word on the street is I'm the word on the street. And Kate, I think it was Sharice was like, that's a small street. And I was like, ooh. See, this is what the Atlanta hoes need to do. Y'all need to actually take notes from these Potomac hoes and keep me interested, keep me going. Okay? I was glued to the TV. I was having me a good time watching this reunion, y'all. And apparently, why did this discussion come up? Because Katie and Karen got into an argument as it related to the event that Karen was throwing. Oh, no. There was a discussion had about the type of character that Karen was. That's what it was. Where Katie and Andrew were speaking to, I believe, Ashley and her husband, I believe, in reference to how Karen acts and how she's, an exaggerated version of Giselle. Basically a stick in the mud about etiquette and all this other shit. And Karen didn't find too nice about that. She was like, well, I don't know how I feel about taking that kind of comment from a man with a missing digit. And I'm like, a missing digit? I know. I thought she trying to say that his dick's small or something. And then they pan to where he is literally missing, like, I think his right ring finger. I was like, Karen, girl, that's fucked up. That was, like, legitimately fucked. You gonna make fun of the man for having to miss a nub finger. That's low. And even Katie was like, oh, bitch, you tried it. That was, like, low-key offensive. Funny, but low-key offensive. Oh, that's what I wanted to mention. Miss Katie, sis, and I'm glad I looked up Instagram because somebody made this point. When she threw that whole thing about, that whole shade about Giselle and her renting a house, bitch, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me. But did you not move all your kids into your not even husband's house? So technically, you don't have a home. That's his. He's just letting you stay there. So even if Giselle is renting, she doing better than you. Okay? Shit, while you sitting there trying to throw all this shade, Katie, don't throw the rock and hide your hand, baby. But anyways, we get to that discussion about how Karen called Giselle's friend, the hairstylist, the help. Now, she's trying to justify it and say, well, the help was the best thing that I could come up with, because if I had it my way, I would have called him something else far worse than that. But, I mean, the help, and it didn't help that he was dark-skinned, okay? It just further perpetuated the negative connotation of that word, okay? And Robyn was saying that it was offensive, and Karen was trying to make it like, oh, I understand what the help is. Don't try to give me a lesson on it, blah blah blah. And like my first job was at Taco Bell and Burger King. I had the headset and everything, and Robyn was like, girl, they didn't have headsets back then. I was like, ooh. I was really surprised at how entertaining and the jab that these women was throwing. Like, where was all this during the season? If y'all had kept this up the whole season, it would have been far more interesting. But I'm sure y'all got, the flow of things going by now. So we quickly discussed about the money scandal that was going on with Robyn and her man, husband, fiance, the guy that she fucking on the regular, because she ain't putting no title on the nigga. How they were stealing her money and how she was doing that crying last in the season, and they said that apparently the guy that did it ended up killing himself when it happened. Well, I guess when the whole thing came out, and I guess she said that brought them together, or it brought her and Juan together. So it just sounded odd. Not that it couldn't happen, but it's just the fact that you said that your best friend committing suicide brought you and your man together. It just seems unorthodox. Like, oh, this death has brought us together. The death of this person that betrayed us. I mean, I guess it could, but it just sounds odd that death could bring it together. It was very Oh, sorry, I got a message. Katie and Giselle talk about getting pleasure, about gossip, and this, that, and the fourth, when Ashley had brought up the whole Googling about Robyn thing. She said it was wrong, and she was just saying that, she just reported what she found on Google. Now, this is where Katie went wrong, okay? Because Katie tried to say that, oh, Giselle, you do the same shit because you take pleasure in gossip. And what about the time we were heading into the beach house and you brought up the pain that I was going through that was written on my blog? And Giselle was like, but wait, hold on. Bitch, the difference between what Ashley did and what I did, or the argument that you're trying to make is your blog was written by you for the world to see. The things that were written about Ashley and her financial situation, granted, it was for the world to see on Google, but the difference is she didn't write it for people to see. You wrote this for people to see, and she said it in front of you. You were in the car. Ashley was saying the shit behind Robyn's back. That's what made her, halfway wrong in the situation. What's up? I got you when I'm done. So, yeah, Katie, you lost all footing with that argument, sis, because you can't talk about she doing the same thing when you wrote this specifically for people to see, and it was written by you. So any information that was put out, you put it out. So you can't be mad that people are reading it and having their opinion on it. Whereas stuff was written about Robyn, she didn't say put this out. We don't know that, but more than likely she didn't say put it out, but she didn't write it herself. So, girl, you can't make that argument, honey. you just can't. And then we get to this whole biracial discussion, which is, okay, y'all about to beat this dead horse. So, yes, there's such thing as light-skinned black people. And yes, there's such thing as black people having the light eyes. Now, excuse me, because I have a first cousin whose mom is darker skinned, whose dad's her mom is like my skin color a little bit, not really dark, but not light either. And whose father is dark, and she came out really, really light because her father's sister is really light. So, just genes. It's a whole mixture of things. So you can come out, it depends on recessive and dominant traits and all that biology shit. So, it was this thing about Katie not being black enough, where she would kind of be like, oh, I don't want to be labeled, but I want to claim Jewish. It was just like a whole big confusion. Now, honestly, with the whole issue, it's just like, look, if somebody wants to identify as being one thing, who are we to challenge and say that they're not that thing? Okay, it seems like it's just a respect thing. If we can prove that Robyn and Giselle's parents are black, and if they want to identify as black, let them be black. If Katie's mom is black and her father is white and she wants to identify as being biracial, then fine. Even though she's still technically black because of the whole, if you have a drop of black rule, whatever. If that's what she wants to be, then whatever. The whole grabbing the butt thing, is it a white thing? Is it a dark? I can say that was probably could be considered ignorant or offensive because I guess her father's white, and so she probably was like, what are you trying to say? So I just feel like they should drop it, but the reunion was good. Part 1. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go check that out. But I'm about to go take care of this dog before he get on my nerves. Trying to tell me he needs to go out and things. So I will see you guys next week for the part 2 reunion, which is going to be good. And also, Drag Race comes on today, so that review will be out tomorrow, and Love and Hip Hop Atlanta comes on tonight, so we'll be talking about that later on tonight. And make sure you guys are tuned in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Like, share, subscribe.
Washington.